It started with the biggest pipe bomb the FBI had ever seen.
There is a bomb in Centennial Park. You have 30 minutes.
It ended in a dumpster after the largest manhunt in American history.
My knees knocked so hard that I was about to answer them. That's how nervous I was.
Eric Rudolph and the rise of anger.
Domestic terrorism has been metastasizing across the country for a long time now.
True story, true crime, true consequences for us all.
American Shrapnel, from award-winning journalists Becca Andrews and John Archibald, two-time winner of the Pulitzer Prize. Now available wherever you get your podcasts.
Close your eyes, exhale, feel your body relax, and let go of whatever you're carrying today.
Well, I'm letting go of the worry that I wouldn't get my new contacts in time for this class. I got them delivered free from 1-800-CONTACTS. Oh my gosh, they're so fast.
And breathe.
Oh, sorry. I almost couldn't breathe when I saw the discount they gave me on my first order. Oh, sorry. Namaste.
Visit 1-800-CONTACTS.com today to save on your first order.
1-800-CONTACTS.
Buckeye Talk is about to begin. Hey, 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 come on in.
Welcome back to Buckeye Talk. I'm Stephen Means. That's Stefan Krajisnik, and that is Andrew Gillis coming to you after day one of fall camp. We were out there for the full practice on Thursday, and as you're listening to this, we're out there for the full practice today as well, and we'll be doing the same tomorrow, though. We're going to talk about day one today, and then we're going to save day two and day three for Tuesday afternoon after we've talked with coordinators and we've talked with Day again, because we just don't want to get repetitive because they haven't put on pads yet. So there's only so much information you can get out of their playing touch football, especially when you're talking about the trenches. That is, of course, unless your star defensive tackle gets hurt in literally the last period of practice. And it wasn't a non-contact injury. He was playing normal football. He just got hurt. He had a lower body injury. It looked like his right leg had to be helped off the field and into the locker room. Ryan Day did not have an update for us right after practice because we talked to him 10 minutes after practice ended. So I'm either he had a quick update or he had I haven't talked to anybody yet because it's 15 minutes after practice and he's still being evaluated. So we're not going to try to give details into what it may or may not be in terms of injury, in terms of timeline. But Stefan, what we can talk about is it is officially August 1st as people are listening to this pod, which means we have officially spent 8 months talking about the depth of the defensive tackle room being a potential problem. Ohio State chose to not solve it by adding more variables to the table, instead thinking the guys we would be looking for already in our room, they need to develop, we need to get these guys ready. That was true 48 hours ago, and that is now probably the number one most important thing for the next 30 days, I would say, even outside of a quarterback battle, because at least at quarterback, you have two options that you can wrap your head around. Right now, it feels like defensive tackles, Eddrick Houston and Caden McDonald, or bust. And now you have to find out whether that bust is, no, now this position group might not be any good outside of those two, or maybe something happens over the next 30 days and we can start to build confidence in Will Smith, Jason Moore, and Taiwan.
Yeah, I think the number one thing there is quarterback. You've got two, we could call 2.5 options. You just need one of them to emerge. At defensive tackle, sure, it's nice to have 2 stars, but you need 4 or 5 guys who can play, right? Like Ohio State, ideally against Texas, has 1 quarterback play. Ideally against Texas, you have 5 defensive tackles who come in and play. So that's the position that we're talking about there and kind of the nature of it. And yeah, this has been what we've been talking about. And I don't necessarily think Ryan Day has been wrong in his assessment of the way they've approached defensive tackle in terms of, I'm not sure how great the options were in the portal. And you could maybe even argue that the best option in the portal was a guy who left Ohio State in terms of defensive tackles. So, and I'm not sure Ohio State was purposely losing Hero Kanu. I think that's a decision that he made. I don't think Ohio State was kicking him out the door. So when I think about what just happened at defensive tackle with Eddrick Houston, regardless of the extent of the injury. And maybe by the time you're listening to this, you already got in the text 614-350-3315 that, we're updating you that Eddrick is out at practice and everything's fine, or updating you that Eddrick's not there. Regardless of what happens, I think there is maybe a bit of a flashback to last fall camp in terms of how this could play out and how Ohio State needs it to play out. If you remember, there was an illness that was going through the offensive line last camp, and Ohio State was kind of having to makeshift the way it was putting players on the field for practice. I mean, they were running low on bodies to have enough drills going on at the same time, right? Like we watched them on Thursday practice. They usually have 11 on 11 over here, 11 on 11 over here. Like, listen, you need at least 10 offensive linemen to do that. Mm-hmm. And they were crunching numbers with that last year and struggling with it. But what we saw as a result of that is when you got to December, I mean, frankly, even when you got to September, guys were more prepared. Instead of Josh Simmons, Donovan Jackson, Seth McLaughlin, Tegra Shabola, and Josh Fryer being the only guys ready to go, Donovan Jackson was cross-trained and ready to play left tackle. Luke Montgomery looked ready to go by the time you got to the playoff. Austin Sareveld was a day one starter because Donovan Jackson was out. Like, that virus, that illness spreading through the offensive line in fall camp last year prepared a lot of guys to step into bigger roles. So whether Eddrick is healthy or not throughout fall camp, there are going to be opportunities for guys to get snaps. Obviously, if Eddrick is out for any stretch of time, that's even more opportunities for guys. This defensive tackle room has to develop in the way that the offensive line did last year throughout fall camp. And Eddrick going down, I think quickly you kind of perk up your ears a little bit because this is how easy it can be. Like, it does not require a wide receiver getting blasted over the middle of the field for there to be a notable injury in football. It can be something as simple as a rep late in practice. Like, that's how quickly your depth can be tested. Mm-hmm. This fall camp is crucial for the defensive tackle room to develop, and the defensive tackle room to develop fall camp just as the offensive line did last year in fall camp.
And it's also the one room that didn't need this to happen, because you can, regardless of who the best players on this team are, you can mitigate if Jeremiah Smith got abducted by an alien tonight because the room is so loaded. Does that impact your ceiling? Of course it does. But even then, I don't know how much it impacts the ceiling in a world where you still have multiple guys who are probably first-round draft picks. It's just not the best it could possibly be. Running back, that's why you have 3 different guys that you think can play. Even the offensive line, to Stefan's point, I think enough guys played last year, and they've got some depth in there, both in guys that are returning and in some transfer portal additions. They added 3 tackles in the portal that... Is it the best version of the offensive line? Probably not, but it's at least serviceable. Defensive tackle, we don't know if this team has the ability to stop the run or not. And you're talking about a position, at Stefan's point, where Larry Johnson would love to have 6 guys, and right now he has, let's say, 1.5, because we're not sure what's going to happen with Eddrick. We might get out here today. If you're listening to this before 9 a.m., we might be getting out to the practice today, and Eddrick's out there, and it's like, okay, well, everything's fine. He just rolled his ankle and that's that. Or we might get out there and he's still missing. And now I'm spending the next 2.5 hours of my life with my eyes glued on Jason Moore, Tywan Malone, and Will Smith Jr. I want to present an idea to you, though. We get those 3 have to be good. Or you play a 3 down front. Or I'm looking at some sizes here. I think you and I were talking about this. Caden Curry is 6'3", 260, but he's super, super fast, and he's often been on the interior when they put the Rushman package out there. And I know you don't want to do that on every down, but can you replace Eddrick Houston in this hypothetical of this is serious, maybe he misses some games? Can you replace him in the aggregate by moving in some defensive ends, i.e. Caden Curry or Bo Atkinson, who's 6'6", 265, but pretty quick, and those 2 guys kind of make up a 3-tech for you while Caden McDonald is still your nose. And I'm not saying, hey, you can do this and you're going to get the best possible version of Ohio State's defensive line, because that's not replacing Eddrick Houston, but can it at least mitigate the problem a little bit and take some of the pressure off Jason Moore, Tywan Malone, and or Will Smith Jr., some combination of those 3, emerging as something that for 8 months now we have not heard them turn into?
I think maybe. I think you, like you said, I was kind of looking at this as well. I mean, you got Caden McDonald at 326, Jason Moore 305, Tywan Malone 301. I think that might be it for the 300-pound defensive lineman. So
those are rare though. Eric Mensah's 308.
Oh, Eric Mensah. Okay, so Mensah 308, right? So the thing that I would say about that is that I don't know if you can necessarily major in it right now. I think that's something that you can maybe do a little bit more of. Maybe in 1st and 10 sets, or maybe in 3rd and long sets. Maybe you do that. I think that's totally fair and reasonable. The thing that you don't want to do is go changing around an entire defense, right? Like the thing that you don't want to do is go like, hey, Eddrick's out. Everything's different now, and it's the first day of fall camp, and we thought we were going to run a 3 down front 10% of the time. Now we're going to run it 33% of the time. Like, I don't know if you want to do that on the first day of fall camp, even if it's like terribly bad news about Eddrick, right? Like, even if you get really bad news of Eddrick, that's just like, oh God, this is really not good. I don't think you want to be trying to change up too much like that. So to me, I'm not doing a ton of that. I think it really kind of stinks for Eddrick, obviously, just not because, you lose a really talented defensive lineman, forget for how long. Eddrick Houston didn't play a ton last year. He played 141 snaps. I think that's the other thing too, is that this is a kid who's in his 2nd year in the program. And at this time last year, we were talking about him as a defensive end. And, forget the whole, we need to build our depth. We need to build this. Like, Eddrick Houston, I think we all assumed, and probably rightfully so, is and was going to be awesome. You need practice reps, right? You want him getting reps at defensive tackle along with Cade McDonald. You want him getting those reps with Cade McDonald next to him and kind of working through some things through fall camp. So, yeah, there's a myriad of discussion topics here, but the biggest point is that I think I said this on our video, like, if at 8:00 we said, what position do they need to get through healthiest in fall camp? I think we all would have said defensive tackle. And on the first day, something bad happened.
Do you think they can figure it out, Stefan, in 30 days? Regardless of Eddrick's standing, because it's healthy or not healthy, him and Caden McDonald can't play 75 snaps again.
I know as fans and reporters, we are very quick to point to coaches. I think the answer to your question comes down to the players. Like, these guys got to show up. We've seen Ohio State develop defensive linemen and players at every position at such a high rate that at some point you have to point at the players and say, all right, Jason Moore, all right, Will Smith Jr., all right, Taiwan Mo, like, you ready for this? Like, it's the 2025 season, it's 30 days away. So I think the answer to your question is going to come from the players. Like, I wish we had more open. Like, I wish we could. I'm not saying every practice has to be open, but it would be cool, like, if we could see these first couple. And then Steven wants every practice open. I get that. Beggars can't be choosers.
I want all the information I can get, man. I want to be able to make the most educated opinion I can make. We have to get in front of a microphone and talk about this team, and I have to sit there right. Sure. I want the most educated possible version of my take I can get. I'm not saying I want to document every single play. I'm not Connor Stallions, man, but I want the most educated possible take. And if that means I'm in there for a practice, I get every practice. Yeah, that's selfish of me, I know, but that's who I am. I want that.
True. But the point being is, like, if it would be nice if we could see August 1st and then see it on August 22nd and see how these players have developed, specifically at defensive tackle. Like, it's a simple answer, but I think it's what it comes down to. All these guys have the potential, the size, the athleticism, and the resources around them to be great. And I guess you don't need to necessarily be great, but, like, to be a serviceable backup, everything's in place for them to do it. They got to go out and do it. And depending on the length of his injury, they're going to have opportunities.
What did we think about the way Ryan Day talked about it? There's the initial, hey, Eddrick got hurt. What's going on there? And him going, well, I haven't talked to the trainers yet. That the coach speaks part. But it got brought up a bunch. I think the first question he got was about his confidence in the defensive tackle depth before someone just went, and shout out to you, Dan Hope, for doing it. It felt like it was one of those moments where it felt like we were all about to just talk around the thing, and Dan Hope just goes, is this dude hurt or not? Shout out to you, Dan Hope, for doing that, because sometimes it's okay to do that. But the way he talked about the defensive tackle depth, both at Big Ten Media Days and today, and then also, like, the vibe he had with Eddrick's, did he feel, and again, 45% of our job is to overthink and to overanalyze. Did you walk away from the day thinking Ryan Day is really nervous?
I walked away thinking that he was pretty ticked off with how the first practice looked, because I think every coach is ticked off with how the first practice looked. And on top of that, one of his most important players got injured.
But it wasn't like, it was more typical coach, I'm annoyed because things weren't seamless through practice the way you would want them to be seamless, which, to your point, every single coach in America is going to feel that way after practice number 1 of fall camp. But it didn't feel like he was shell-shocked. Like when we were in there the day after Seth McLaughlin got hurt, I felt like he was a little shell-shocked by that injury. And
I didn't get that vibe today.
Okay, because he even brought that up today when talking. He got asked about, hey, you have a plan, and that just completely gets a monkey wrench in it on the first day of fall camp, which is what happened a year ago with Tyler Lee Williams, Andrew. And he brought up how it took them some time to figure it out, which I interpreted as, with the offensive line, you had to figure that out in the season, day by day, week by week. You have 30 days. If this is serious, we don't know yet. If this is actually, you have 30 days to figure that out versus you lost Seth McLaughlin on a Tuesday night practice and you've got essentially 2 practices to figure it out before you play a top 10 opponent. You didn't think, Andrew, he was shell-shocked by it?
No, I think he was pissed. I looked at somebody else that was there. I said that, like, I think you're right. The McLaughlin thing was shell-shocking. Like, I was talking to people, like, when he got hurt, like, Ryan Day was, like, very much upset, like, with, like, he was kind of in denial about it. Like, that was kind of what I heard about how that went down. And with this one, it just kind of felt like one of those days where it's like, you ever, like, have, like, a bad day at work or a bad day with whatever, and then you got to drive home, and then, like, you're taking your groceries in, and, like, the bag rips on the outside, and it's raining, and you're like, this might as well happen today. It was just kind of one of those, like, he was already mad, and then something else made him upset. I mean, I'm sure he got prognosis of some kind before he talked to us, and, you know, that was basically just, you know, ankle, knee, chin.
Yeah,
whatever.
There's a difference between that.
But I like, unless, like, and very genuinely, like, we talked to him, like you said, Steven, I don't know, 10 minutes after practice ended. Unless it was one of those, like, they have a Tyrese Halliburton Achilles tear pops, they probably don't know what happened. Right. And so I genuinely believe Ryan Day when he said, I need to talk to the trainers and we'll figure this out. So, you know, I think he wasn't necessarily shell-shocked. And I think you're right. The answer that he gave about kind of figuring the offensive line out on the fly, I think was illuminating, because what I want people to take away from listening to this is not, you know, oh God, Eddrick Houston, this is, you know, the whole pod. It's much bigger than that. Because
it's going to be like 85% pod.
But it's not just like that he got.
This is one of the 10 best players on this team and arguably their most valuable player. This is going to be 85% pod.
Well, but let me rephrase that. My point is, the pod is not like, oh God, Eddrick Houston got hurt, let's react and panic. And it's like the SpongeBob meme where, like, everybody's running around in his head and everybody's on fire. I think it underscores, one, that it's day 1 of camp, you still have time to figure it out. And 2, this was the position, like I said, that they would have had to figure out what you got behind your starting 2 of Eddrick and Caden, even if everybody got through camp and they were as healthy as a horse. And they got through and they were just the greatest specimens ever at defensive tackle. You still needed to figure out your 3, 4, 5, 6 situation. And that's more true today than it was a couple of hours ago. So, you know, I think he was definitely relying on that, of just, but if it's bad, we have time to figure it out.
Yeah, but it's still us talking about.
It's not good. Yeah,
it's the difference between us today is how easy. To Stefan's point, that injury, regardless of severity, is a reminder of how easy this conversation can go from talking about defensive tackle depth to starting defensive tackles, right? One is a level 3 out of 5 conversation. The other one is red alert, because these are the guys you're asking to be frontline starters for you.
We have to remember, as highly as we think of Caden McDonald and Eddrick Houston, they've also never done this either.
Correct.
Like, all 3 of us think that they're both going to be successful, but, like, you're asking 2 guys to step into roles they haven't had before, and also there's not great depth behind them. Like, it's not a great situation to begin with. By the way, Gillis talking about the panic pod. I mean, if in the near future we get a prognosis and it's not good, there will be a panic pod.
Then it's a panic pod.
This isn't a panic pod because we don't know the severity of it yet, and I think we're all trying to be a little bit optimistic. And I think there's reason to be optimistic. But, you know, if we hear in a week that it's not good, then it's panic pod. Also, like, it can be an okay prognosis and he plays 11 of the 12 games. You need Eddrick Houston against Texas.
Yes.
Like, Tyler Williams was out against Marshall and I believe Michigan State he missed.
Yeah.
That's not number one Texas.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a very different conversation. We'd still be having it, but it would be like, okay, well, you could slow play Eddrick, get those guys at least. We sent at least those guys have Ohio and Grambling State to figure it out. Versus, can you be ready? I love what Ryan Day said today when he was talking about you can't be learning on the job. And that's across the board. And there's a lot of guys who probably could use a learn on the job moment, but they're not going to get that, which will lead us into the second part of this conversation when we come back from the break here on Buckeye Talk.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
On WhatsApp, no one can see or hear your personal messages. Whether it's a voice call, message, or sending a password. To WhatsApp, it's all just this. So whether you're sharing the streaming password in the family chat or trading those late-night voice messages that could basically become a podcast, your personal messages stay between you, your friends, and your family. No one else. Not even us. WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone.
Introducing the new Volvo XC90 with 7-seat versatility, Google built-in, and advanced safety features for all your precious cargo. The new Volvo XC90, designed for life. Visit volvocars.com/US to learn more.
The Nordstrom Anniversary Sale is on now. Shop new arrivals on sale for a limited time from Madewell, Bobbi Brown, New Balance, and more. You'll find tons of deals under $100 on summer-ready fits, plus beauty exclusives from your favorite brands. Nordstrom makes shopping easy in stores, at Nordstrom.com, and on their app. Hurry, prices go up August 4th.
Speaking of learning on the job, this is Buckeye Talk. Stephen Means, Stefan Krajisnik, and Andrew Gillis. We're learning on the job as well. We're just further along in our development on the job than some of these players are because we've been in these roles now for a full year. We've been in these exact roles. I'm proud of the development we've had here at Buckeye Talk. Get the text. Okay, the quarterbacks looked up and down today. First day of camp. I have numbers on all these guys. I tried to chart every throw during a competitive team period to the best of my ability. I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be, but I tried my hardest to do so. I had Lincoln Kienholz at 15 out of 19 with a touchdown pass to Bryson Rogers, which I think was his best throw of the day on a slot fade. It was one of the last plays they had before they had to move things inside because of the weather. I had Julian Sand at 9 of 14. I think his best throw of the day is once we were inside, Stefan, you and I were standing right next to each other, when he threw a deep ball down the sideline to Carnell Tate, which is essentially the type of throw for like why we think Julian Sand might be the starting quarterback. He put that ball where literally either Carnell Tate was going to catch it or nobody was going to. Like I don't know if he could have thrown that ball any better than how he threw it.
I don't think Devin Sanchez could have defended it any better.
Right. I think it was one of those throws where everybody did things perfectly, which is why they always say good defense is great, but great offense beats great defense every day of the week. Because you can do everything right and I still make the shot. He also threw an interception in Davidson Igbinosun where, to be frank about it, bad throw, bad decision all the way around. Like Davidson Igbinosun didn't do a lot of work to get that pick. It was more on Julian Sand making a bad decision. And then Tavian St. Clair was 8 of 9 on the day, where I just think, Andrew, the best thing about what I saw from Tavian is he looked like a deer in headlights in the spring because he's a true freshman quarterback, so he's supposed to look like a deer in headlights in the spring. He looked like he was in more control. He had more command of what he was doing. He looked like a guy who was 8 months in his career now. And I liked what I saw in terms of his trajectory and his development. I thought he had some really good plays. They didn't have him throw it as much later on in the team period, but I thought he had a pretty quality day over.
Yeah. Tavian St. Clair, it kind of felt like one of those things where, you know how some people listen to podcasts at like 1.6 speed? Felt like that was kind of what he was doing in spring practice. And I don't want that to sound like, oh no, Tavian, like, no, he's a freshman. He literally left some days of like spring practice, like he would leave campus to go back home to like go to prom. Like, he should have been in high school, and it's totally normal. So it was totally normal for him to kind of have those kind of moments where it just looked like things were moving really, really quickly for him. And I think today you definitely saw that dial back a little bit. I think physically he looked pretty much the same. There wasn't like a drastic kind of change. I think with some of these guys, like with Julian Sand, I think he was listed at the same weight in spring practice, but I think we kind of looked at him and went, he looks bigger. Didn't really see like a physical change. I think it was more kind of between the ears. You're right, Steven. I think everything just kind of seemed a little bit slower for him. And frankly, that's a great situation for him to be in because, we talked about him coming in at quarterback. I mean, you've got Lincoln Keenholtz, a third-year guy, Julian Sand, a second-year guy. I don't think anybody's expecting Tavian St. Clair to see the field in 2025. And I mean, maybe we're in a situation like we were after with 2023, where you have somebody start like Kyle McCord. And then at the end of the year, you're like, well, maybe we should open this thing up again. Maybe. And then Tavian enters that race. But Tavian has time to develop. Tavian is not kind of being rushed along. And I think the steps that we saw today were definitely a positive sign because, it's early on in his career. And frankly, if Ohio State fans see him on the field in 2025, Tavian St. Clair is either much, 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 much better than we thought, or something not good has happened at the first two positions of Ohio State's quarterback depth chart.
So what's Day waiting on, Stefan?
I don't know if it's a moment. I don't know if it's a collection of moments, but he's waiting for Julian Sand to grasp the starting job.
Scale 1 to 10.
You guys, I'm gonna actually do a Gillis here. I'm gonna do a movie comp. You guys know The Incredibles, where the little kid is outside the car and Mr. Incredible's like, "What do you want, kid?" And he's like, "I don't know, something amazing." That's kind of how I feel like Ryan Day is looking at Julian Sand and be like, "Hey, what do I have to do to win this starting job?" I don't know, do something amazing.
Pull a Gillis there was such a good pull. I love that got added because like I've had a texter text me one time before that was just like, "Andrew, your movie references always make me smile." And I was like, yeah, they do. Let's go. So thank you, Stefan, for pulling a Gillis.
I didn't say if it was good or bad. I just said it was a Gillis.
Hey, you seemed to smile when you said it.
Are you both, would you say both of you came into fall camp 10 out of 10 Julian Sand is going to be the starter?
Yes.
We've seen a day of fall camp, and we saw a few practices in the spring. After those practices in the spring, you two were at a 10 out of 10 heading into fall camp. After the first day of fall camp, are you still a 10 out of 10? That Julian Sand is going to be the starter?
Yeah,
I am.
Okay.
Let me just correct you there on one thing. I don't know if I came out of the spring practices 10 out of 10. I came out of the spring game 10 out of 10.
Where were you at before spring game?
Probably like 8 or 9.
Okay. So still pretty
confident. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the spring game solidified some things for me at the time.
If I had to do a power rankings on performance off day one, I think there is Julian Sand for me, and you said in the video that you thought it was Lincoln, Tavian, and Julian, and maybe you would be open to flipping Julian and Tavian. I think mine is Lincoln, Tavian, Julian, and I would be open to flipping Tavian and Lincoln.
That's what I said on the video as well.
Okay. And that's not, again, I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't feel like I'm overreacting to one day of fall camp where they're not even in pads, right? Nothing's changed for me. I am also still 10 out of 10 Julian Sand is going to be the starter, which is why I love that you answered the question of he's waiting for Julian to grab the job, not for somebody to grab the job. Because here's what it feels like. It feels like everybody in that program knows who their next starting quarterback is. But until that guy shows you consistently that he's the guy, I understand why a guy who was a quarterback coach by trade and also a former quarterback who also has had a process for how he's picked his starting quarterbacks is going about it this way. It's the same reason why in 2019, when we were in Chicago, asking him, you went and got a 5-star quarterback. He was clearly your starting quarterback. Why haven't you named him? Ryan Day's like, because Justin hasn't earned the job yet. You have to earn the right to be Ohio State's starting quarterback. It's not just about beating the guys in the room with you. It's about living up to everything that, quite frankly, comes with this job. It's like being a shortstop of the Yankees or playing as a superstar for the Knicks or the Lakers or being the Cowboys quarterback. It just comes with a lot. That there are other good college football programs and other good college football quarterbacks. None of them deal with the stuff that quarterbacks at Ohio State have to deal with because, again, it's just a different type of job, and you have to be 100% sure that guy can handle everything that comes with that job. Even C.J. Stroud and Justin Fields had to adjust to what that was, and it wasn't easy from day one for them to do so. Still 10 out of 10 that Julian's going to be the starting quarterback. But I'm also now confident, based on what I saw, especially today from Lincoln, he made some really good throws. He's got a really nice arm, and he's a super athlete. I think there's like 3 different sports he could be playing high-level Division 1 in, to be frank about it. Ryan Day was talking about he's got a handicap of like +3 as a golfer. He can windmill dunk. He's probably an awesome track athlete if you wanted him to do that too.
Caleb Downs at his fundraiser event said that he went golfing with Lincoln and was like annoyed with how like easy
how natural
golf looked. Yeah, how natural golf looked to him. And he was also like, yeah, we play like spike ball, and he's like hitting it between his legs, like doing trick shots to spike ball.
Him, Emeka Ibuka was like that. Garrett Wilson was like that. These dudes who are just good at every sport they pick up are the most annoying people in the world because it's easy, man. I just picked it up. It's like, shut up. Some of us actually have to work towards this.
LeBron posted those videos in the summer where he was like playing golf for the first time, and I was like, he's like 2 weeks away from being better than like most people who have been playing golf their whole life.
Yeah.
Like it's unfair.
The first time Alex Ovechkin played golf, he hit a hole in one on a par 4. So yeah, it's like some of these people are just like that. But I guess to get back, I wanted to ask you guys a question. So like, because Steven asked us like, what were you at coming in? Steven, what were you at coming into today?
11 out of 10. I was fully prepared today to write a story, and I had to change. I changed it yesterday, but we have a Google Doc where we map out our stories for the week. I originally had a story going Friday where the entire point of the story is, why are we playing this game? Name the starting quarterback already. And now I can't write that story.
So my question was going to be, what knocks that off the mountain? Like, let's say we get to Friday and exact same day, it's just the order of the throws are mixed around. Lincoln looks the same, Julian looks the same, Tavian looks the same. Are we still 10 out of 10?
Nothing that we see in the next 3 days can change that because they're not
So I was going to ask you about Saturday too. So that makes, because I think that's fair.
It's a whole element that is not, and they can't get hit anyway. I know that, but it's just, they're not playing football right now. They're playing early install and acclimation period. So everything is taken with a grain of salt. We talked to the wide receivers today too, don't we? Okay. I wish we weren't talking to the wide receivers today. I really wish we were talking to the wide receivers in like 2 or 3 weeks. But I wish Denzel Burke was still here, because he'd be a good litmus test whenever we talked to the corners. They're like, hey, what do you think of Julian Sand? If he was going, then that'd be something. Whatever player position group we're talking to 2 weeks from now onto this day, what's their tone talking about the quarterbacks? Because that's the only thing that could move me off of this mountain. Because some of this is expectation. You are always battling your expectations. Julian Sand is a 5-star recruit who was rated higher coming out of high school than some of the dudes that we're going to be discussing when we do our Market Down Mondays for the Heisman Trophy. So and he lost his black stripe early, and there was at least an idea of flirtation that maybe he could be their QB2 last year over Devin Brown. That is not Lincoln Kienholz's story. Lincoln Kienholz is a lower-rated guy that they found late and flipped from Washington, back before Washington played in a national championship game, and only played as a true freshman because Kyle McCord transferred and Devin Brown got hurt, and he didn't look great out there. His expectations are totally different. So I think Lincoln is consistently in a situation right now where any good day is just him playing better than expected. Well, every bad day for Julian is him playing worse than he expected. If we flipped those charted throws and I gave Lincoln Kienholz 9 of 14 and an interception and Julian Sand 15 of 19 for a touchdown, I'd be asking you guys, what's your confidence that Julian Sand's going to be the starting quarterback? And you guys would be going, I don't know why we haven't named him the starting quarterback yet. We know, duh. But because it's flipped, it becomes a complicated conversation.
Because you're leaving the door open a crack.
Yes. But the other way around.
What's the Monday pod called? What's Ryan Day's phrase?
Leave no doubt. Man, way to bring that back around. But we wouldn't be saying that about Lincoln if it was flipped charted throws. We wouldn't be going, Lincoln, you're leaving the door open for Julian Sand. We'd be just saying Julian Sand shut the door on Lincoln Kienholz. So we can't change our expectations. Well, I mean, we can with more information, we can. But we have to acknowledge that we're dealing with biases, which is what recruiting rankings can sometimes do. When a 5-star does something that we expect a 5-star to do, we go, okay, yeah. If JJ had a one-handed catch today, we would be impressed, but we wouldn't be shocked. If Bryson Rogers had a one-handed catch today, we'd all be like, yo, look at the hands on this guy. And I want us to continue to remember that as we're having these conversations. So to answer your question, 2 weeks from now, if we ask the position group about the quarterback position and it feels like we leave those conversations and it feels like the water is a little murky, I'm going to go down to like 5 out of 10 that Julian Sands is starting quarterback, because then something's not clicking. But if it's just, he had a bad day at practice, but then he starts stacking days, because remember, he is still a true freshman who played a redshirt freshman who played 27 snaps last year. If he starts stacking days, then he can get right back on the horse. He didn't have a terrible day. He just didn't have a better day than the other guy he's in competition with.
Yeah. And it could be as simple as they get pads on next week and a couple dudes get in a fight and Julian gets in there and shoves a dude and gets involved. He might win a starting job like that.
That's how Joe Burrow won the job down in LSU.
I think he was going to win the job anyway, but punching Patrick Queen in the head,
right? But again,
it gave him a level of
right.
freedom.
But again, this is not about just beating the other guy. This is about being the guy. And players have pointed to that moment from LSU about that's the moment we knew we had a dude at quarterback. Juice to it.
Let Julian be live, but give the black jersey to Katie McDonald. No contact for Katie McDonald.
Are you advocating that Tim Keenholz punch Arvell Reese in the head so that the team loves him?
I strongly advise against that.
Yeah, that would be a terrible idea, especially with your throwing hand.
I think until we know what's up with
Eddrick, like that scene from Bull Durham. Never hit somebody with your pitching hand. Always with your non-throwing.
Until we know what's going on with Eddrick Houston, Katie McDonald should be in.
Just give McDonald should have him
sign autographs.
Smoothie tomorrow.
On Friday.
Yeah. No practice for you, Kaden. Go over there and sit out. Don't move a muscle. Just sit there. Don't even use your voice. We can't strain that either. 714-350-3315 week free trial. $3.99 for that. Okay, let's close. Again, they're not in pads, so there's only so much we can get into in terms of who's making plays and whatnot. But you do just want to see guys having some juice. They're in practice. They've been off for about a week and a half now. You should have full energy. Did anybody catch your eye? Andrew, let's start with you.
Aaron Scott looked really good. There was a moment where he was on Jeremiah and Jeremiah kind of burned him on the inside. And like the next rep, or like it was like either the next rep or the next rep, the day after tomorrow rep, where Jeremiah tried to shake him and Aaron Scott, I mean, he could have told you what kind of flavor gum he was chewing. Like he was right up in his grill and just made like a really nice play. Like this was something that we noted, Stephen, last spring, the spring of 2024, of Aaron Scott, of just like, man, that kid's got the aggressiveness. And I think he tried to tackle either Travion or Quinshawn, and they kind of sent him back to the turf in short order, and it didn't go very well for him. And I was like, you know what, man, once he gains 10 pounds, once he gains 15 pounds, he'll be all right. Well, I think that's happened. I think Aaron Scott's really good. I mean, I think there is debate genuinely about kind of what I think we're going to have to see. I forget what the schedule's like, but we'll see kind of what that cornerback rotation is looking like. If they want to have Jermaine on the outside, or if Jermaine goes to the slot, that opens up a slot for maybe Aaron Scott. So, I thought Aaron Scott looked really good. Ohio State's defensive ends, man, like they jumped out. Bo Atkinson, really, really aggressive. There was a moment maybe like too aggressive because he didn't have pads on. So, it's kind of like, hey, chill out. But I think you'd rather have that than the other way. So Bo Atkinson, Kenyatta Jackson, I mean, those guys look explosive. They look big. They look explosive. I think you might be trading from last year's Jack and Day T. I think you might be trading maybe a little bit more pass rush upside for maybe less stability in the run game, like less kind of edge setting, run stopping defensive ends. But Ohio State might have another really, really good defensive end tandem. So those were three guys that, like, if I had a podium to give out, I would put them on the.
Stefan, who caught your eye?
Ethan Owenyawa looks like the way coaches have been talking about him this summer. He's down about like close to 30 pounds. He just, when you look at him now compared to what we saw from him in the spring, he looks like he's ready to go against a Colin Simmons. And I know that's been a concern for Andrew repeatedly on this podcast for good reason, based on what we saw in the spring. Like, he has transformed his body to look like he's ready to go against a guy like Colin Simmons.
Stefan and I were talking with Landis as we were looking at Ethan Nyawa, and I brought up, Andrew has brought up like 7 times over the last month and a half that it's been known that Ethan Nyawa struggles with speed rushers. And it's like, no duh, because he's 360 pounds and can't keep up. And for the first 2 months he was here, he looked like Colin Simmons was just going to run right around him. And now he looks like he can actually handle a couple of speed rushes.
Looks like he can catch him if he needs to, yeah.
I think you need to let the Jermaine Matthews at nickel die, Andrew.
It's the first day. They weren't in pads yet.
No, I understand. The reason I'm saying that, though, has nothing to do with Jermaine Matthews.
I'm aware.
Remember when I said Caleb Downs should just play linebacker? Well, the nickel position in Ohio State's scheme can sometimes serve as a linebacker the way they use it, which is why Jim Knowles used to call it a nickel Sam. Think, and I texted this to our texter, 614-350-3315. Think Sonny Styles in 2023 before Lathan got hurt and how they were using him. Sonny wasn't always comfortable doing it, but Caleb Downs is comfortable doing anything and everything. And if you're looking for ways to make sure that Caleb Downs is involved with everything possible, why not just make him a nickel so that he's essentially a third linebacker who also has coverage responsibilities? We already know he can cover tight ends. He did it for multiple games last year. And also, it solves the problem. Well, not even a problem. I don't think it's a problem. It solves the question of who's going to play more, Malik Hartford or Jalen McClain. And the answer is they're both going to play because they're your traditional high safeties, free safety, strong safety. And then Caleb Downs is just your nickel. And that way, you keep Jermaine and Davison outside. It doesn't mean Jermaine's not going to do any nickel, but I do think it gives you the best of both worlds because Caleb Downs can tackle like a linebacker and cover like a defensive back. And also, he's smart as all can be, and he's your best defensive player and the guy you're building this entire defense around. And that puts him right there in the middle and the nucleus of this entire defense. And that's how you get what we saw against Texas, where there was a defensive line level, a linebacker level, a Caleb Downs level, and then a safety level. That's what caught my eye in the short period I spent watching the defense during a team period, because that's interesting to me. Because that's the only, in terms of Matt Patricia with player stuff, it's what CJ Hicks doing, what Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles are doing, and then what Caleb Downs is doing. Those things are going to essentially start to hint at what this defensive scheme is going to look at. And if you're telling me Matt Guerrieri has enough confidence in Malik Hartford and Jalen McClain that they don't rotate, they both just play because you think Caleb Downs, if Caleb Downs is replacing Jordan Hancock, well, Malik Hartford and Jalen McClain are replacing Caleb Downs and Lathan Ransom, I think that is a much better look than anything else they could throw out there because it keeps your best two outside corners outside and opens up a world where they can have a rotation because Aaron Scott Andrew, I believe, is going to play this year. He looks great. 614-350-3315. That's day one from fall camp. Hold your breath for Eddrick. Get excited about everything else. Continue to find intrigue in the quarterback battle as we head into day two, which we are out there right now as you're listening to this pod. And we'll talk with Brian Hartline and Matt Patricia and the receivers after we watch practice today. 614-350-3315. 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that for Stefan Krajisnik and Andrew Gillis. I am Stephen Means, and that was Buckeye Talk.
Popsicles, sprinklers, a cool breeze. Talk about refreshing. You know what else is refreshing this summer? A brand new phone with Verizon. Yep, get a new phone on any plan with Select Phone Trade-in and My Plan. And lock down a low price for 3 years on any plan with My Plan. This is a deal for everyone, whether you're a new or existing customer. Swing by Verizon today for our best phone deals. 3-year price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate only. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.